Like in that moment, I was just like, holy, like there's no way. Like being like walking around like normal to like why me? I'm Coden Herman, I'm 20 years old. April 6, 2024, I was making a left-hand turn on Snow Canyon Parkway. Car was going about 60 miles an hour, hit my driver's side door, which flung me and my friend about 30 feet the opposite direction of which we were facing. My friend, which was in the car, calls my parents, looks at me with the driver's side door covering half of my body, and I'm just knocked out.
We were up north for Karsten. He had a baseball tournament that weekend, games. So we went up. Coden stayed home. He didn't want to go. So we pull in and my phone rings and it's Coden, you know, and I'm like, hey, bud. And it's the girl that he was dating at the time. And she's hysterical. And she's like, Tony. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, we just got in a wreck. And I was like, okay. And I was like, how's Coden? And she's like, he's dead. It's almost like your body and everything takes over, like your mind kind of shuts and you just kind of go numb. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, he won't wake up. He's like not responding, like he's dead. She's freaking out and I'm like, hey, calm down, like walk me through it. And we had just got out of the car and I took Troy and I was like, call your sister. And he was like, what? And I'm like, call your effing sister.
Where were we headed? Were we headed to breakfast? What time was it?
We weren't headed to breakfast.
10 o'clock?
But we were headed to start a nursery to get plants to plant our garden. I can't remember, it was Tone that called me. And she was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, at the store. She's like, Coden was just in an accident. And I'm like, okay. Like, bad, good, bad. And literally she's like, can you go there right now? I literally drove in the turning lane, did not care.
I didn't hear that conversation. I turned to the guy as soon as she said we need to leave. I turned to the guy and said, hey, will you keep an eye on our cart? I had no idea what was going on. You know, an accident, okay. I just knew there was an accident and she was lit up.
So we get down to like the end of Dixie Drive and I'm calling Troy, where is Coden? Because like where you're telling me he is on Snow Canyon Parkway, he's not there. So literally then the panic really sets in. We're going through back roads trying to find out where they are. Well, basically they were on the opposite side. So we came up the back side of it, actually the same road Coden turned off of. Just a dose of reality sets in real quick.
Like I remember bits and pieces of like waking up in the car when my dad's friend's trying to pull me out and I'm like trying to like look around and then he's just like telling me to stay still. And then like after that, like I just remember waking up in the hospital with my aunt and uncle who rode with me the whole way.
Yeah, my buddy was one of the ones that pulled him out of the car. It was a hard phone call. He said that he was in bad shape, but that he would be okay. He didn't really, I mean, it wasn't negative, but it wasn't positive. And it was good to have him there because he was the first person on scene. And then numerous people after that.
It was rough. It was pretty tough to look at and see and understand. I literally just stopped, ran across the street, I didn't care. There was like fight or flight kicked in. And so I went over to Coden's friend that was there with him in the car and checked on her, made sure she was okay. Luckily, we had friends that actually happened to be at the fishing pond. I checked on her and then literally figured out where Coden was. Coden was in the ambulance. And I was just grateful he was awake and able to talk. I think the first thing I asked him was, can you move your toes? Because if you looked at the car and saw just that he was alive and coherent, like, I to this day believe that God had a bigger plan for him.
Bree was in the back seat. She was dating Karsten. Her mom's a nurse, and she called her parents and told her parents where Coden was, and they hopped in the car and went straight to him. The same with Troy's sister. That was actually the best thing that could have happened, because where Vanessa was a nurse, I knew exactly what was wrong with my son before the doctors knew and before we even got home. She had looked at the car, just what Coden was saying hurt. She was like, I'm pretty sure his pelvis is broken. He's complaining with this and this. She knew everything. We went to the hotel, we grabbed our stuff. I felt like we were like in and out of our hotel in like 5 minutes, in the car, headed home. It felt like we got home fast. Like, I felt like we were home in an hour. I'm sure it wasn't, but time during that whole scenario was crazy. All I could play in my head was, I didn't get to tell him bye. I didn't get to hug him and tell him that I loved him before I left. Am I gonna get to do that? And that's all I could think about, was I didn't get to tell him bye.
I get there and I'm just like, what's going on? Like, what just happened? And then everyone's just like, you were in a bad car crash. Like, we're doing everything we can. About a couple minutes later, I'm like, I have to pee. They give me like a cup, I try to pee.
And Coden is looking at us and he's not peeing. And he's still not peeing. And I'm kind of just saying, hey buddy, just take a deep breath, relax, it'll happen. Be like Uncle Mike, huh?
Thinking it's more of like an embarrassment thing,
Absolutely.
right? You know? I mean, anybody would feel that way. I would be like, what the hell? But it was more like, wait a second. Something's going on.
He could not release his bladder. And so we were like, okay, well, pull your pants up. Don't know what to say yet. When we went to do that, I noticed that he had a drop of blood coming out. And I was like, I looked at her. I just said, that's not good. And she said, no, it isn't. And just walked out of the room. And I was like, so I told him, I'm like, I don't know what that is, but that is not a good sign. And a few minutes later, the doctor came in and wanted to check that out.
They just like immediately, a bunch of people started coming in and just take me away. And I started going through some tests. I wake up in another room, like a room they set me in. The doctor comes in and I'm like, all right, like what's wrong with me? And he comes in and he's like, there's like a couple things wrong with you. You're like, you shattered your pelvis. You have multiple breaks in your pelvis. You fractured your L2 and L3 in your back. Fractured your left hip and detached your urethra, and you have a severe hematoma in your stomach. And I was just like, what? Like a couple hours ago, like I was just fine. Like in that moment, I was just like, holy, like there's no way. Like being like walking around like normal to like, I was like, when do I get to leave? And he's like, you're not going anywhere for weeks or months. And he's like, luckily you're young and you'll be able to heal, but if this was anyone older, you'd be here for months. I remember sitting like back in my hospital bed and I was just like crying, and I'm like, holy, like why me? Like out of all the people, I had my brother's girlfriend's family come over. I think it was a bishop. He came over, gave me a blessing. And, after that I felt just like a wave of comfort and everything. And I'm like, this is exactly like what I needed. Like this made me feel exactly peaceful and what I need.
When we got to the hospital, I was kind of scared to walk in the room because I didn't know how he was going to look, what we were going to walk into, how it was going to be.
Yeah, because nobody sent photos of him.
One of the last phone calls you had with your sister, she had said, I don't really want to tell you what it's like because I don't want that image in your head. So that's the other thing, and that's all I could focus on was great. Like, what does that mean? And walking in, I'm like, he looks good. Like, he looked normal. He should be fine. And he just kept saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And we're like, it's fine. Like, don't worry. Like, things happen. We thought he would go into surgery that night or the next day, but he ended up not going into surgery until Monday.
Going into like the first week, you know, I'm just like surgery, like getting my both catheters installed. You know, I can't pee on my own. I'm peeing in a bag. A day later, I go in and I get a metal bar installed in my pelvis, and I'm freaking out, like going into surgery, like, because I don't remember getting my suprapubic catheter. Right as soon as I got done with those tests, they just rushed me in and drugged me up and put a catheter in me. And I remember sitting there and freaking out. And one of my friend's mom actually was in there helping with my surgery, came over and was like, you have one of the best doctors, like everything will be okay.
The day he went into surgery, I actually felt really good about it because I felt like he had a dream team. Like everything lined up. Like his Dr. Judd was able to be there at the same time as Dr. Whiting. Dr. Whiting was the one that was for the urethra. Judd was the one for his pelvis. They both made sure that they were there. Cassie Esplin was one of his nurses. She knew another girl. So I'm like, this is awesome. Like we have everything that we need. Everyone that, you know, is going to be taking care of him.
I remember waking up and seeing this metal bar and, you know, tubes coming out of your body, and you're like, what? Like, almost like, what am I? Like, almost like a robot. And then, you know, moving me from bed to bed, you know, sucked. It hurt. You know, you have pain shooting from every part of your body and you don't know why. And the only thing you want is just for it to stop. You know, after about 3 weeks in the hospital, you know, living life in a wheelchair, you know, I just wanted it to be done, you know.
The hardest part through it, I think, was watching your kids suffer and watching the pain he was going through and you couldn't do anything about it. Watching his highs and lows. Watching everything. I mean, seeing the weight he was losing, seeing how they would come in and check his blood, seeing the pain that he was in and telling him he just had to push through it because it was going to hurt, but these are things that are going to have to make you better. So you have to get up, you have to do all those. But yet he wasn't able to walk.
I remember gathering my parents around my hospital bed, you know. I have all my tubes coming out of me and I'm just like, I'm like, Mom, Dad, I love you guys, but like, I wish I wasn't here. I wish I was dead. And, you know, having those words like come out of my mouth and, you know, hurt. Like, that was like the only escape to everything, you know?
Yeah, I would say that was the hardest part. You just want to take it away. And you can't. You would trade them spots. And you know it gets better each day, each week. The steps, the progress. But sometimes it doesn't feel like enough.
It was hard because it's something you don't want to hear, and you want to be able to take that pain away. And you want to make it better, and you can't. And you also don't want to be like, oh my gosh, you're fine, because what they're going through is real. So it was hard, but I would always remind Coden, I get you feel like it's hopeless and you're never going to be okay. But look at how far you've come.
Everyone, the whole time was just like, it's going to get better. Like, just wait. Like, but for me in that situation, I was just like, there is no, like, where? Like, I was just so stuck on, like, not being able to walk, not being able to do anything, and it hurt. And I hated it. I crashed out on the world. You know, my doctors would come in and I would get mad. You know, they'd wake me up every day, multiple hours throughout the night, poke me with needles, you know, blood transfusions, you know. Went back in the hospital after getting out for 3 weeks, you know, went home. The hospital came, taught me basically how to live my life in a wheelchair.
So he was in his hospital room, got moved to NSR. NSR was kind of cool because your room didn't look so, I mean, it was a hospital room, but it was bigger, so it had more of a homey feel. And that's when they started to really push Coden, and that's kind of when he got really mad because there was things that were hard to do, and it was frustrating because he's like, these are things I was able to do so easy, and I can't do those things anymore. Like, put your socks on, put your shoes on, get your shorts on. Like, those things that you take for granted were now a challenge for him. It was hard to watch, and they pushed him. Like, there are times that I would want to go help him, like, oh my gosh, just stop. And I would realize I can't interfere. So I just sit back.
You know, coming back home was nice, but, you know, moving around in a wheelchair, you know, I had to move my whole room downstairs. Lived in my parents' room. One of my best friends, Luke, moved my whole gaming setup downstairs for me. My mom was my arms and legs. She got me in bed, helped me get out of bed, showered me, put my clothes on. She did the whole 9 yards.
You don't realize that, like, until your kid's in a wheelchair, how your doorways need to be and bathrooms need to be. So when we brought him home, we realized the only bathroom that we have is a guest bathroom that his wheelchair could fit through. So anytime he had to go to the bathroom, he had to come to this one. He wasn't able to go up the stairs because he was non-weight bearing, so he took over our bedroom. We had to take our whole bed frame apart, so it was just a mattress, so it made it easier for Coden to get in and out of. And then he would shower in my shower. So every time he showered, I would wheel him in. We had a process because we had a shower chair, so we would wheel him in. We'd put like a little towel over him just so he could keep his privacy. And then I would just cut the diaper off on the sides and just slide it out from under him. And then I would turn the showers on, leave him, and then he would yell for me when he was done, and I would go in, help him dry off, get him out. But we did that every day that he was home.
I remember sitting in the shower on my shower chair because I couldn't walk. And I remember just looking down and I'm just like, wow, like this is like gnarly. And I remember I just like start freaking out and I just start like bawling in the shower. And I'm just like, and my mom's like, she looks like, comes in and like looks at me because she thought I was done out of the shower. And she's like, are you done? And I'm like, she's like, looks at me and notices I'm crying. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, Mom, I'm a freak. Like, I was like, I'm a broken toy, you know? And and she's like, no, you're not. And she's like, you're almost done. Like, just give it a couple weeks and you'll be walking in no time. And I'm like, Mom. And I was like, Mom, look at me. And I'm like, this is normal. And I'm like, I'm 20 years old, you know? I have like so much life to live in. I want to do so many things, but I can't even walk, or I can't even like give you a normal hug. And it sucked. You know, having a whole summer in a wheelchair and seeing everyone swim and walk and do anything, like, it just gives what everyone takes for granted.
The bar was hard. It wasn't hard. It wasn't. It's almost like you knew why it was there. It had to be there to help keep everything in line. But it was hard at the same time because you're like, wow, like, will you ever be the same? And it was hard to watch Coden have his mental struggles on, look at me, like, I'm broken. This isn't normal. And I would try to tell him, like, think of it like you're a superhero. You have this, you know, thing like Iron Man. And the only reason why I said that was because every time he'd have a surgery and he'd come out, he was so high on whatever they gave him, he would think he was Spider-Man. So he would come in the room and he was like doing this. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, can't you see that? Look at my webs. And I'm like, you don't have webs. And he's like, yes, I do. Like, this is legit. And he would just like act like he would like legit had webs coming out.
I hope his mom told you about the Spider-Man webs. I wasn't there at that time, but she called us and she could barely say it. I think it was on Amory's speakerphone. And she was telling us about Spidey-Man stuff. Well, anyway, I think one of the first things Amory did was what we brought. I had to have some Spider-Man candies or some fake Spider. I don't remember what it was, but we named him. We named us the Spidey. What is it?
Spider Warriors. That became our text.
Spidey Warrior.
Group text message because it.
We called him Spidey Man.
After that point, it just. Coden would make jokes, and it was like it all kept us all going. So there was still his spirit of life in there. And to fight.
It was like somebody that got wisdom teeth out every time he had a surgery, because it was pretty bad. It was funny. After about being in the hospital for like 10 days, was it? And he got released. We brought him home, went in for another procedure, and his fever had been spiking a little bit here and there, and we didn't know why. And so when he went in for the surgery and came out, and his fever got really high to like, what, 103?
It was 103. I kind of threw a fit and I was like, I'm not taking him home. She's like, you know, usually we shouldn't send you, but you can just go ahead and take him home. And I told her, I'm not taking him home. Tori was kind of like, it's fine, calm down. I'm like, no, just sit there. We're not taking him home. So I told her, these are the two ways. We'll leave, but he's not leaving that bed. So if I'm gonna take him, I'm taking him in that bed and I will wheel him out and I'm taking him right into the ER, that's fine. But we're literally not going to. Or you can do it your way. You can go talk to somebody. You can wheel him down a hallway, through the side doors, whatever you need to, but I am not leaving. I am not leaving here until we figure this out.
Yeah, they took us to the ER, ran tests. Took him a couple hours and they figured out he had sepsis.
So the nurse came back and she's like, be glad that you listened to your gut because you could have lost him almost again because it was already starting to affect his liver levels. He needed another blood transfusion.
I just remember getting rushed to the ER and having countless people like come in. I'm just getting like bags of blood. And I'm just like, what's going on? And they're like, you have sepsis and like your liver and organs are failing. And I'm like, how did you not know? Like after all these tests, and I'm like dying basically.
He was a mess. His levels were all over the place. So he was in there for another week after that. And they added 2 drains to get everything out that they didn't get out when he was first there.
And he had the drains in for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while to get everything out.
I felt like I kind of got my nursing license a little bit during that time. I learned how to clean drains out, how to drain them, how to do a lot of things that I didn't think I had it in me to do, but you do it.
We were in there just for the sepsis thing. He was in there for 5 days.
Yeah, 5 days too long. He was
Almost a
throwing a
week.
fit because he was back there and he didn't want to be there. Because during that time, he lost a lot of weight because he wasn't hungry and he wasn't able to eat and he would get sick and he would get cold and he was a mess.
You lost 35 pounds? 50?
I was 125 pounds at the time. You know, I was pale white, and everyone was always wondering, like, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't, and I'm just like, I don't know.
It's hard, like I said, it's hard to watch your kid go through that. It was hard to see him with a catheter, especially when he was able to like go out in public, because so many people would stare and look at him and you know they wanted to ask, but they didn't, especially when he's his age. He had to have his suprapubic out every so often, like every 3 or 4 weeks. One of the times we went to go change it out was really bad. So when they went to change it, you heard this gut-wrenching like scream, like somebody was actually like breaking a limb. And I looked over at Code and I was like, dude, and it was stuck. And the doctor was kind of like, oh my gosh. So he went out and got Dr. Whiting. Because the infection that he had in his body, it formed like, it crystallized and kind of like encroded around the tubes. So they said it's like having a battery. When you leave a battery in something and it kind of gets encroded, that's exactly what that infection did to codens. So it formed around the tubes on the inside and they couldn't get it out. And he was feeling it and you could actually hear like you can hear
The crystals just...
yeah, making that like crunch sound. And I was like, oh my gosh. But hearing that type of scream come out of your child is something like no parent should ever hear. It was bad. It's been a process for him. He's been through a lot. Suprapubic for 7 months, multiple surgeries.
Well, multiple catheters at the same time.
Yeah, we did
Different times.
every 2 weeks after that. 'Cause they wanted to make sure that never happened again. So we would swap them out like every 2 weeks instead of every 4.
Go back to the hospital, get another x-ray of my pelvis, make sure everything's healed right. And he's like, comes back in the hospital room and he's like, all right, are you ready to stand up? And I'm like, are you being for real? Like, I just came in my wheelchair, I'm like, I can actually stand up right now? And he's like, yeah, you can go for it. And I remember like sitting like at the edge of the hospital bed. And like I get to like here and I'm like, I don't remember, like, I don't know how to stand up. And so doctor comes over and my dad comes over and like picks me up and I'm just like holding on to him and I'm just standing there and I'm like, my legs are like shaking and I'm like, this feels like the very first time I've ever stood up in my life. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then he gives me some crutches. And so I start leaning on those to hold myself up. And he goes, all right, start walking. And I'm like, wait, for real? And so like, I'm like walking with each crutch, but like with each step, my legs just feel like 1,000 pounds. And I'm like, and I can just feel all my bones moving down there. And I'm like, is that normal? Like, what's going on? And he's like, it's gonna take a while, but you can walk, don't jump, like you can't get in the water yet because like you have a catheter, but like you can start walking. Like we'll have PT come to your house, you know, help you build strength back in your legs, but like we'll get you walking again. And you know, walking, you know, brought hope, like light in my eyes, like there was light at the end of the tunnel. But relearning how to walk was crazy. Like I remember walking like up and down the block with my physical therapist with my crutches, and he would walk ahead of me, and sometimes he'd walk way too fast and I'd have to catch up, and I'd like, holy crap. Like, I'd be like huffing and puffing.
Had to try to prepare for our summer vacation. That was fun. Trying to figure out the ins and outs of that.
We had a summer vacation planned to St. Thomas. We go every year. And Coden said he was not missing out. He was going. I kept trying to, like, let's just change it until after. No. So it's like packing a pharmacy to go, because he still had a suprapubic in. But the doctor gave us this plug that I could take his catheter out and plug it so he could get in the water for 30 minutes. He was super stoked for that. So I packed everything. He never once ends up getting in the water.
Dude's cruising around the beach with a freaking catheter and a bag strapped to his leg, and who gives a crap? Seriously.
Most kids wouldn't
He
do
rocked.
that.
He had a blast. Who cares? I'm gonna enjoy myself. It's my life.
His pelvis so far is healed good, and I don't think he'll need any more surgeries for that, hopefully. His urethra has been reattached, and that's healing good. There might be some surgeries he'll still need coming, depending on
just to
things.
help with some nerves and different things the best they can.
But I mean, like he said, he might have ongoing issues from it that time will tell. It'll take 2 years for his body to fully heal. But other than that, I mean, he's here. And that's what we're thankful for.
Why did you keep going? Why did you hold on? Why didn't you lose hope?
There's a poem my grandma brought me, and biggest thing for why I kept going is my grandma brought me this amazing poem, and it says, "A mighty wind blew night and day. It stole the oak tree's leaves away, then snapped its boughs and pulled its bark until the oak was tired and stark. But still the oak tree held its ground while other trees fell all around. The weary wind gave up and spoke, 'How can you still be standing, oak?' The oak tree said, 'I know that you can break each branch of mine in two, carry every leaf away, shake my limbs, and make me sway. But I have roots stretched in the earth. Growing stronger since my birth. You'll never touch them, for you see, they are the deepest part of me. Until today, I wasn't sure of just how much I could endure. But now I've found, with thanks to you, I'm stronger than I ever knew.' By Johnny Ray Ryder Jr. And just, reading this poem, sitting in my hospital bed, and just reading it from time to time, like having it on my nightstand, having it on my phone as my lock screen at one point. And I just look back that no matter what, what happens in life, like anything can tear you down, but no matter what, you can just, as long as you're stretch your roots deep and you have like people who truly care about you and who are trying to help you get through what you're getting through, you can get through anything in life. But this poem was awesome for me.
If you could talk to yourself at that time where you just did not want to be here, if you could like sit face to face with that person,
With what I know now,
with what you know now, with who you are now and how far you come, what would you say?
I would probably just sit at the edge of my bed and, I don't know, like grab my feet or something and just like, dude, like, I know exactly what you're feeling right now. Like, you're scared, you don't want to talk to anyone about anything because all you want is for people to know you're fine and that you're doing good. And I know in reality you are at rock bottom, but I promise to you that you are stronger than you know, and you will get through this. That there will be a light at the end of the tunnel, that you will be able to walk again, and that everything will be okay. But you will have the hardest trials through the next couple weeks, months, and perhaps the rest of your life. But just let those be the absolute greatest part of you, and learn from them and try to help others along the way, and just feel exactly what you feel right now, and try to make sure that no one else will feel that way, and just make someone smile. But you are awesome, and that you will get through this. That's probably what I'd say to my guy, and then I'd give myself a fist bump.
I told Troy the other day, Codens alive and he's here and he's well. But that day, a part of our son did die. He's not the same. And he might not ever be the same. But that's okay, because I feel like you come out better in some ways. Even though your body might feel better and your body feels like he's 80, like he says, there's a reason why you're here. And you're gonna be okay. Like even now, you look at Coden and he looks totally fine. And he looks normal. And like everything's good. He had an appointment, I wanna say like a month ago, with Dr. Judd, just to like, they do another scan to make sure everything's still healing right, make sure everything stayed in place. And as they were asking him questions, he was like, when is the pain gonna go away? Like, I didn't realize he's still in pain every day. Every time he wakes up from when he goes to bed, and there's times he doesn't even sleep good because he can't get comfortable. He hurts, like his everything. It broke my heart to hear that, because I knew there were times his back would hurt, and I just felt like it was when he was on his feet for, a certain period of time. I didn't realize it was like chronic pain, like every day, and that's what he's living with. And that's super hard. It was super hard for me to realize that that's what my son's dealing with still, and I can't do anything about it. Whether it will go away, I don't know. I hope it does. I hope within the 2 years it just gets better, but there is a chance that they said he might literally just have chronic pain for the rest of his life.
If you could speak to yourselves when this was all happening at the time, what advice, counsel, or encouragement would you give to yourselves?
I would say the biggest thing is it gets better, and trusting that, because a lot of the times it gets discouraging to where you don't think it will, but it does. It just takes time. I look back at the process and it went by so quick, but when you're in it, it feels like you're watching the clock just tick, tick, tick. But you gotta trust that everybody has a job and everybody has a role in making the situation that he got dealt better.
You're stronger than you think. And it's okay at times to not be strong. I always felt like I had to be strong and have a game face on for Coden, because there was times he wasn't strong and you had to be strong for him. And it's okay when you're alone to scream and cry and freak out. Like, you need to do it. You need those moments, because that's you letting everything out to where you can turn around and be strong, but it's gonna be okay. And you're gonna make it. And let the people who want to be there for you there. Don't push them away, because they're not there just because they want to know or they want to, they're genuinely there because they care. So lean on the people who are there for you, for your support, because you're gonna need it. I love you, Coden. And I'm glad you never gave up.
And don't ever give up.
You have us.
I'm scared.
I'm Tony, Coden's mom, and he is yet to ever see the picture of his car. He's never seen it. So he is ready to see it, and he's gonna look at it now. Maybe this will help him. Are you sure you're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the inside. That was after Trevor cut all the airbags because all the airbags had went off. That's the video. That's how far your door was pushed in over you. So when they say you're lucky to be alive, you truly are lucky to be alive.
So now I'm from the front seat of the ambulance, right?
That's crazy.
Crazy, huh?
It's crazy. Like my door's like on top of me.
This one will show a better image of how far your door was in. That one.
Like how am I walking?
It's gonna take some time.
Are you driving yet?
It's a truck.
Oh.
Nice and safe for me.
Okay, so people upgrades, huh?
Yeah.
The car saved your life, though. It was a good car.
Was it?
It was a BMW. It was a BMW.
Oh.
It's a nice baby right there.
Oh, no.
But it did its job. Like
Yeah.
it
Called 911 for me, supposedly.
did. Woo!
There any bit of like closure, or like at least you know what it looks like now, or how bad it really was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now does it make sense on why everything is going to take so much time?
Yeah.
And maybe that'll help because there's a lot of times I don't think he realizes the progress that he's made, but they've told him it could be up to 2 years before your body fully heals, before everything's regular. And Dakota, he's like, I just want to be normal now. But maybe hoping to see these pictures of his car, he can realize the extent of like how bad it was and why it's going to take so much time.